Good morning. Everybody standing around here that's not speaking a clear way of the podium, I would appreciate it. If you're not speaking, please leave being in front of my speakers. Thank you. My understanding is there's a lot of folks still trying to get into the Capitol. Woo! That is a good thing. The bad thing is it's 10:03 and we're supposed to start at 10. So I was holding off a couple minutes so you hopefully have some folks get in, and we're trying to make it in. It takes a lot of coordination now post 9/11 to make it into the state capitol. You used to have to go through security checks. You used to just walk in the front door of your building, and now you have to go through metal detectors and security checks and all of those things since the war of terrorism was recognized, because it was being waged many years before we finally recognized it was a war that we should be engaged in. Well, welcome to the state capitol, your state capitol. I'm State Representative Daryl Metcalfe, and we have a great lineup of speakers for you today. We have a lot of members from the legislature and senators from the legislature standing here with me today, and I'll be reading through some of their names. You'll see some folks will have to come and go. It's not because they disagreed with anything that was said or done necessarily. They most likely didn't, but they've got another meeting to go to. So there'll be people coming and going. If they don't agree, they can catch me later, because I think that the majority that will agree, otherwise you wouldn't see them standing trustingly here behind me, not knowing what I'm going to say next. But thank you to all the legislators that have made time in their schedule to join us today, and to our excellent speakers that have come from afar to share with us today. When we break off the rally at the end of the day, there's going to be teams of people, as you know, some that are maybe in, some that are still coming in. They'll be roaming the Capitol halls, talking with their legislators, advocating for defending the Constitution and defending our right to bear arms under both the Second Amendment, Article 1, Section 21 of the Pennsylvania Constitution that says that right shall not be questioned. I like to start my committee meetings off with us saying the Pledge of Allegiance. In lieu of doing the Pledge of Allegiance today, we're going to start off with Mr. Dave Gray, who has joined us before singing the national anthem. Mr. Gray, who's also a veteran.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Thank you. How about God bless America, right? So my name is Dave Bray. I go by Dave Bray, USA, and all the social media circus. Representative Metcalfe asked me to say a few words today. I've been singing here at the Capitol for this amendment rally every for the last 3 years, I believe it has been, but I don't just sing for God and country. I sing for the men and women who serve this nation. So I want to take this moment to ask you a question. You came here today, but I gotta ask the question, are there any patriots in the house today? That might be good enough for Maryland, that might be good enough for New York, that might be good enough for New Jersey, but I'm gonna ask it one more time. Do we have any God-fearing, freedom-loving, flag-waving patriots in the house today? I'm going to leave you with this. The Second Amendment falls and all the rest fall along with it. We all know that. We need to protect not only ourselves, but the founding documents of this great nation. And with that, I'm going to give you Representative Daryl Metcalfe.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Dave. It's Dave Gray. I really appreciate you sharing the gift that God gave you today with us to sing our national anthem. We really appreciate it. Our next speaker is Ms. Kelly Ann Pidgeon. Kelly is the owner of Armed and Feminine, LLC, a company specializing in firearms training for women. Kelly Ann.
Thank you. No pressure being first. May I just start with saying I'm so excited to see that half of this crowd is women today. Argue with anybody. Well, I just really came to stand here for the underrepresented voice of gun owners, which is women. You know, for more than a century, women have fought for all kinds of rights. Their right to vote, their right for equality in hiring practices, and now equal rights for self-defense. And a lot of legislation that we see that comes before us stands to be in the way of women having that right to self-defense. The gun can be an equalizer for women. That's right. You know, let's look at Tim. Men can be stronger and bigger in stature, and for women, you know, that's a problem. So the gun can be an equalizer. I have friends who have been raped at gunpoint in gun-free zones. I have women who have encountered brutal events where they now say that if they had a gun, the situation may have played out differently. You know, we can't really hide from the statistics where every 5 minutes there's a rape. Every 2.5 minutes there's a sexual assault. Now these things are still illegal. Doesn't matter that we have laws. They still happen. 1 in 4 rape victims will attempt or commit suicide. You know, back in 1994, the feds developed the Office of Violence Against Women, and it's come back up again now. So I sit here and I think that if the feds felt that we needed a special office to pay attention to violence against women, why are we seeing so many infringements on women's rights to protect themselves? Do we want to not prevent them from becoming one of these statistics? What I want to say is stop putting an agenda in front of a woman's life. Rendering women defenseless does not protect us. You know, women are really taking charge and becoming their own protectors. And you know, in the last 5 years, women have become the fastest growing segment of gun ownership in America. And a lot of no one can have just one. Like black shoes. So right now, too, we have a movement in America that tens of thousands of women are participating in, and it's called #NotMe. And it's where women are just taking back their rights and showing that that they have the right to self-defense against sexual assault. It's a huge movement, and I'm really proud to say that I'm a part of that. You know, Colonel Jeff Cooper just stated, the purpose of the pistol is to stop a fight that somebody else started. So I just want to say that it's indefensible for someone to say you're for women's rights, but you're against gun rights. You know, my pro-choice is, it's my body, my right to protect it with a gun. Amen. Over 700 women how to safely use a handgun, and every single student who has come out has said, I want to do this for self-defense, or I want to be able to take care of my children. You know what? They are moms who demand gun rights, and I'm happy to give it to them. You know, guns are not the cause of violence. Violent people are the cause of violence. I'm against all types of violence. I'm against singling out gun violence as being worse than any other kind of violence. I'm against criminals having guns, and I'm against the rampant failure to enforce the current gun laws. And I'm really against being treated like a criminal because I own a gun. Amen. Stop the criminal mind. In fact, it's just going to make things easier for them because the rest of us become softer targets. You know, none of us wants anybody to be murdered. None of us wants anybody to be raped. None of us wants any schools to be shot up. We need to work together on solutions addressing violence without infringing on the rights of responsible gun owners. Of a natural human right of self-protection, and the Constitution guarantees us these personal freedoms, and it also limits the power of the government. And the government is also required to protect those rights. So lawmakers, hear me now. Don't legislate us out of the ability to protect ourselves. Because laws aren't going to make bad people harmless. I encourage everyone to promote responsible gun ownership, and education is a deterrent to crime. Educate, don't legislate. We are 2A proud. In Pennsylvania, stick to your guns. It's your life, protect it.
Kelly Ann Pidgeon. Next is Representative Stephanie Gorwitz.
It's such an honor to stand here before you today. Thank you, Representative Metcalfe, for entrusting me to speak. And I'm standing not in front of just Americans, but American patriots today. Can you guys stay with us here every day? I think it would make our job a lot easier if we had patriots surrounding us every day. Can you guys just be here every day? Men and women have been fighting for freedom since the beginning. From Moses to William Wallace, to the Pilgrims, to George Washington. And we've been given the longest standing free land and been blessed with the longest standing free land than any other people. And we will not let that fall on our watch. A lot of times we hear from the socialists who are trying to destroy this country the phrase a well-regulated militia as a way to push gun control. But let me tell you a little story. My grandfather, way back when in the Revolutionary War, fought in that militia in the Battle of Shiloh Ford, and was outnumbered by Tory loyalists to the Redcoats 2-1, and took down and won that battle, and we went on to win that war, and we overcame the greatest superpower of our time, and we stood up against a tyrannical government when the odds were against us, and that was and is what the Second Amendment is for. Let me tell you a story. My dad sent me a video, and I'm going to end with this, a few months ago when I was being sworn in, and it was of Ronald Reagan speaking at an inauguration. And he talked about a man named Martin Treptow, and he was a World War I soldier, and he died. And on his body was found these words, and it said, "My pledge." And it said, "America must win this war, and make no mistake about it, we're in a battle for this nation. Therefore, I will work, I will save, I will sacrifice, I will endure, I will fight cheerfully, and do my utmost as if the issue of the whole struggle depended upon me alone." So I urge you today, stand up, speak out, be heard, be engaged. We here know what is at stake. We will not let socialists dictate to us what our country was and is. We're here today to tell them what our country was and always will be. We are a free land, a republic, and one nation under God.
Thank you, Representative Stephanie, appreciate you taking time. I know she has another meeting that she has to run off to, otherwise she'd like to be here and listen to the rest of the event and participate also. Next is Mr. Joshua Prince. He is one of the premier Second Amendment attorneys in the U.S. Josh has represented more than 3,000 individual clients with varied firearms issues under federal and state law, and he's waging the battle in the courtroom on our behalf. Thank you, Josh.
It's a distinct honor and privilege to be here before all of you patriots today. Now, Representative Metcalfe asked me to keep my comments to about 4 to 5 minutes, but you all know once you give a microphone to an attorney, all bets are off. But I am going to try and keep my comments short. I'm going to discuss some of the successes we've seen over the past year in relation to the Second Amendment here in Pennsylvania, as well as a couple of the threats that we need to be aware of in the upcoming year. This past year, we saw, for the first time in the history of the Commonwealth, the Pennsylvania State Police have a financial judgment issued against it and affirmed by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court because it kept erroneous criminal records on an individual and denied that person his Second Amendment rights. The PA Supreme Court affirmed in this context that the Pennsylvania State Police was not entitled to sovereign immunity, and that was a monumental victory for our cause. We saw a $500,000 settlement with the city of Philadelphia in relation to its disclosure of confidential license to carry firearms applicant information through the use of unenveloped postcards. And I can tell all of you today that on Friday, an order was issued publishing the fact that there is in Monroe County a new class action that has been certified, including 17,000 individuals whose information was disclosed through the use of unenveloped postcards. Now, we have a bunch of other victories as well at the federal level. In fact, this past year, we saw out of the Western District of Pennsylvania a decision issued in Franklin versus Sessions that held that a Pennsylvania Mental Health and Procedures Act Section 302 commitment does not trigger a federal prohibition. Unfortunately, the U.S. government has contended that even given that decision, that it still does. And I can tell all of you that I expect in the next couple weeks that a decision is likely going to be issued from the Eastern District of Pennsylvania formally and permanently enjoining the U.S. government from contending that a 302 triggers any type of federal prohibition. We've also seen 2 Second Amendment as-applied challenges successful against the U.S. government. The first was in relation to a DUI conviction that stripped the individual of his rights in perpetuity to keep and bear arms. The other one was in relation to someone who altered a PennDOT window tint exemption form, having been stripped of his right to keep and bear arms for the remainder of his life. And in both occasions, the courts came down and said, no, that is unconstitutional. But there are threats looming. And everyone here should know about the fact that there are 2 proposals in the General Assembly to enact what are called extreme risk protection orders or red flag orders. You boo at that. Wait till you get the real kicker. Both have been submitted by alleged Republicans. Senator Killen and Representative Stevens have submitted the bills in their respective chambers. And I want you to really listen to what one of the bases is for the grant of extreme risk protection order. The recent purchase or attempted purchase of a firearm is the basis for issuing an extreme risk protection order. Think about that. The exercise of a constitutional right is a basis in and of itself for issuance of an extreme risk protection order that will strip the individual of that God-given right. We also have the city of Pittsburgh violating both Article 1, Section 21 of the Pennsylvania Constitution and our preemption clause in Section 6120. Thanks to patriots like you, we've been able to initiate several different lawsuits against the city of Pittsburgh, and I want to formally thank Tim Schmidt and USCCA for supporting us and donating to us. So with that, I want to ask all of you, as you go around to your representatives, remind them that Article 1, Section 21 says the right to keep and bear arms shall not be questioned.
Thank you, Mr. Prince. We have a lot of members that I set up behind me and senators. Senator Bartolotta, I think, has to run now to another activity, so thank you for coming. Senators that plan on being here today or may still be here or might be coming in. Senator Baker, Bartolotta, Brewster, Brooks, Hutchinson. I know I saw Scott behind me. Senator Scott Martin. You're going to hear from Senator Kristen Phillips Hill. Senator Vogel, I know I saw Elder here. Senator Judy Ward. Also members from the House, Representative Knowles, Benninghoff, Bernstein, Cook, Dunbar, Dush, Emmerich, Everett, Fee, Fritz, Gobler, Gilman, Reiner, Grove, Hahn, Hickernell, Irvin, James, Kaufman. I know I saw Rob Kaufman behind me here. Dawn Kiefer, Mark Keller, Representative Fred Keller, Kate Klunk. You know, Representative Jerry Knowles had another event to another committee meeting to go to. Representative Bill Kortz, I know I saw him here. Zach Mako, Dave Maloney, Jim Marshall, I know was out here even early with a lot of folks from his area. Representative Kurt Mazur, I know I saw Dave Millard, Brett Miller, Eric Nelson, Ted Nesbitt, Tina Pickett, Representative Jeff Pyle, Jack Rader, Kathy Rapp, Harry Reedshaw, Mike Reese is here, he'll be speaking to you. Representative Roy, Rothman Ryan had to leave for the meeting, Frank Ryan, our former Marine Colonel. Representative Stan Saylor, Representative Paul Schemmel, Representative Jesse Topper, Representative Clark Wentley, Representative Jeff Whelan, Representative Dave Zimmerman, Representative Justin Welch, and I think somebody whispered in my ear, Joswiak. I don't usually go for that whispering in your ear, but Joshua, I'll accept it. Joswiak, thank you for coming today. Thank you, members of the legislature, for being here. It's important to all of us and to all the audience and those that couldn't be here. Our next speaker is Senator Kristen Phillips Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to all the Pennsylvania patriots here today. It is wonderful to see you all. I'm Kristen Phillips Hill, and I have the great honor of representing more than 250,000 York Countyans here in the state Senate, and I am so incredibly grateful to see this show of support for our Second Amendment. I want to talk to you today about something that's weighed heavy on my heart, and that is that our nation has seen a rise in hatred and bigotry in every corner of our Commonwealth and our nation. And these blatant attacks on our right to worship and our right to choose our religion flies in the face of our founding fathers. Our founders set guiding principles at the state and federal level. Our Commonwealth's Constitution states that all men have a natural and indefensible right to worship Almighty God according to the dictates of their own conscience. Our U.S. Constitution, it protects our free speech, our very right to be here today. But unfortunately, our very right to worship is being targeted. No matter your religious beliefs, you should be able to worship without fear. States with some of the strongest gun laws have not prevented attacks. Indeed. Everyone in this rotunda agrees that we need to stand firm against bigotry and hatred. An attack on our freedoms is an attack on all of us. And as proud defenders of the Second Amendment, we know that all too well. Law-abiding citizens made into scapegoats for the acts of the wicked and the evil.
Right.
The Second Amendment is crystal clear. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Every time there is a tragedy involving firearms, anti-gun advocates hailing from states with some of the strictest gun policies tell law-abiding citizens like us that we need to give up some of our freedom.
Never.
Let us remember the writings of Thomas Jefferson, who quoted Cesare Beccaria when he wrote, "They disarm only those who are neither inclined nor determined to commit crimes. Such laws make things worse for the assaulted and better for the assailants. They serve rather to encourage than to prevent homicides, for an unarmed man may be attacked with greater confidence than an armed man." They want us to give up our rights that give us the ultimate sense of security. For many of us, a firearm is our security system. Just last week, there were reported break-ins by an individual who kidnapped a young child about an hour south of where we stand here today. He allegedly took a young child, locked her in a wooden box in his house. Fortunately, God bless, she escaped when he went to work. As a mother, my heart sank for that girl and her family, but the individual went on the prowl looking for his next victim just a few nights later. The police have a suspect, but think about the families in that community. How do you protect the ones that you love and you hold dear? Horrible, evil people will stop at nothing to get what they want, whether it's your valuables, your electronics, your peace of mind, your children, or your lives and your freedoms. To all of us in this room, that firearm represents peace of mind. It represents safety. It represents protection from those who seek to do us and our families harm. But we know we must be vigilant. Our Second Amendment rights are just as precious as our First Amendment right to free speech, if not more, because we know that without the Second Amendment, there would not be a first. We must not and we will not let our freedoms be infringed here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And that requires us to stand firm against hatred and against bigotry and against anything else that can be used to take away our rights. And that we stand for our Second Amendment, the First Amendment, the Constitution, those founding principles and essential documents that have assured our freedom and liberty since the founding of this great nation until today. Stand with me. Let's stand up for our Second Amendment. Thank you. God bless each and every one of you. God bless the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the United States of America.
Thank you to Senator Kristen Phillips Hill. She moved to the Senate after the last election cycle. We miss her in the House, but we're glad she's in the Senate. As you can tell, she is a passionate voice for freedom. As you heard from Representative Borowitz, you can see that the members of the legislature share your passion, share your heartfelt concerns, and that's why they're here today speaking to you. Our next speaker is Mr. Eric Pratt, and Eric Pratt is the Executive Director for Gun Owners America. And before Eric comes up, we also have Representative Daryl with us. And, Mr. Pratt's dad, Larry, was here with us for many, many years. I think he probably made 12 of the last, or 11 of the last 13 speaking opportunities that he had here with us, and we appreciate him traveling from Virginia, as I believe Eric also traveled up from Virginia today. So we look forward to hearing Eric. Thank you, Eric, for coming.
Thank you, Harrisburg. This is a great day for liberty. And thank you, Representative Metcalfe. You have been a super champion of the Second Amendment all these years. We want to thank you for that. And I want to thank all of you for being here. You are here standing for our freedoms because you know that they are under attack. They're under attack in Washington. They're under attack in Pittsburgh. Heck, here in this state capitol, they're under attack. No more. I tell you what, Gun Owners of America is committed to working together with you to oppose every single compromise of our gun rights. Look, this is important. You guys know our gun rights do not come from government. They do not come from popular opinion. They do not even come from a piece of paper like the Constitution, as good of a document as that is. No, our rights come from God. As our Declaration of Independence says, our rights are endowed to us by our Creator. And that's why they cannot be taken from us. See, that's a game changer. Our rights are not ours to be given away. They can't be restricted by the government, and that's why the Second Amendment says, shall not be infringed. That's right. That language doesn't say you can have a background check. It doesn't say that you can have universal background checks, criminalizing private sales. It doesn't say you can impose gun confiscation orders. No, shall not be infringed means just that. Keep your hands off our guns. Now, regarding gun confiscation orders, which is what we call red flags, it's a shame to hear that there are rhinos in this Capitol that are pushing those. That is heinous. These laws sanction the confiscation of firearms, and they do it without any due process whatsoever, no trial by jury, no having your attorney present, no facing your accuser, just boom. A judge takes the word of somebody who may have a vendetta against you, and you lose your guns. Talk about the movie Minority Report on steroids, right? We're going to take your guns from you because you might, and I repeat, might use it in the future to commit a crime. So much for being proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt for an actual crime committed. I'm sure you've already heard this, but already in the state directly below us, a man has been gunned down because of these gun confiscation orders. Gary Willis, an African-American gentleman, was woken up by a loud knocking on his door at 5:17 in the morning. Now, I don't know about you guys, but usually people aren't expecting pizza deliveries at that hour. So if you're a gun owner and it's still dark outside and you're hearing loud knocking, how do you answer the door? With a gun in hand, exactly right. Well, that's what Gary Willis did, not in a threatening way, but he's dead now as a result of that meeting. You know, and supporters have the gall, supporters of red flags have the gall to say that these laws give us due process. Well, Gary Willis didn't get any due process. And if you do survive the gun confiscation, then you get to pay $10,000 to go before a judge and prove to that judge that they made a mistake in issuing the gun confiscation order. Good luck with that. Look, the government should be tasked with proving that you're guilty, not you being required to prove that you're innocent. Red flag laws. That's right. Red flag laws have been an utter failure wherever they've been tried because guess what? Real bad guys still keep getting guns. But that doesn't matter. For gun control supporters, it's all about putting points on the board. It's all about getting gun control laws passed. But that's where we can make a difference working together. We're going to tell Democrat legislators here, we're going to tell Republican rhinos, no more gun control, not one word. Look, my time is just about up, so I want to leave you with some encouragement. Because the liberal media makes a lot of noise in favor of gun control. But I want to tell you, there are now more states with constitutional carry than there are states with red flag laws. And last year, the number of school districts around the country arming teachers doubled. Our gun rights are quietly moving forward, even though the media is not reporting on it, but working together, we're going to see freedom advance here in Pennsylvania. So be encouraged, folks. This is a good day for liberty. Thank you, and may God continue to bless this country.
Thank you, Mr. Eric Pratt with Gun Owners of America. We appreciate him joining us, and his dad's now in retirement, so we miss Larry, but Eric's a great replacement. Speaks the same talk of freedom that his dad did for many years for us here at this microphone. Thank you, Mr. Eric Pratt. We also are joined by Representative Mao and Helm, and we're also joined, as I said, by Representative Mike Reese, who's going to introduce some of our freshman members to you.
Today by thanking each and every one of you for taking time out of your busy lives to come out here to your state capitol and help us defend your God-given rights. Unfortunately, folks, this event is more critical now than ever. Because I don't have to tell you, make no mistake about it, those rights are under attack. Chairman Metcalfe gave me one responsibility here this morning, and that's to introduce our newest members of the House Republican Caucus, who stand with you and I in protection of our rights and our freedoms. But before I do that, I want to tell you where I stand on just a few issues. First, I don't believe that any government has any business maintaining or making a list of names of law-abiding citizens who own firearms. Second, I don't believe that any city or other municipal government should be passing their own set of gun laws that would infringe on your constitutional rights. And third, and perhaps most important, I think it's incumbent on all of us to remember that the Constitution was not drafted to tell us what government can do, but rather to tell us what government cannot do. With that said, I want to extend a very sincere thank you to Chairman Metcalfe for putting this event on. And now it's my great honor to introduce to you the many new lawmakers here in Harrisburg who are committed to protecting the Second Amendment rights that we all value so much. And we are truly blessed to have a long list. From the 15th District, representing portions of Beaver and Washington counties, Representative Josh Kell. From the 39th District, representing portions of Allegheny and Washington counties, Representative Mike Buscarek. From the 44th District, representing a portion of Allegheny County, Representative Valerie Gatos. From the 48th District, representing portions of Washington County, Representative Tim O'Neill. From the 68th District, representing portions of Bradford, Potter, and Tioga counties, Representative Clint Owlett. From the 62nd District, representing a portion of Indiana County, Representative Jim Struzzi. From the 71st District, representing portions of Cambria and Somerset counties, Representative Jim Rigby. From the 76th District, representing portions of Center and Clinton counties, Representative Stephanie Borowitz. From the 79th District, representing a portion of Blair County, Representative Lou Schmidt. From the 80th District, representing the other portion of Blair County, Representative Jim Gregory. From the 82nd District, representing portions of Franklin, Juniata, and Mifflin counties, Representative John Hershey. From the 93rd District, representing a portion of York County, Representative Mike Jones. From the 105th District, representing a portion of Dauphin County, Representative Andrew Lewis. From the 193rd District, representing portions of Adams and Cumberland counties, Representative Torrin Ecker. And finally, from the 199th District, representing a portion of Cumberland County, Representative Barb Gleim. Thank you all so much.
Good job, Representative Mike Reese, who's also our Secretary for the Republican House members and the Republican caucus. And I thought they should have all run out with their jerseys on now, the way Mike introduced them. Good job, Mike. Good job. Our next speaker is Mr. Maj Toure. He's with Black Guns Matter. He is the founder of that organization. Maj?
So, y'all know how we get down. I gotta get a little bit louder than that. There we go. Okay, real quick. They said I got 3, I'm gonna take 2.5. I'm gonna give you tools, I'm gonna tell you how you've been exposed, and I'm gonna tell you how the other side, the liberal media, is trying to reverse the game for you. Okay? First and foremost, the patriots that are in here right now are in opposition to gun control. Is that correct? The roots of gun control in America are directly aimed to stop patriots of all levels of color, creed, religion, race, ethnicity, and all of that. Is that correct? Right. So this is what I want to say to the liberal media that will pick this up. We're on to you. You would have all of the patriots in here believe that they're racist when in reality, supporting the policy of disarming women, people of color, poor, working class, hardworking Americans is the most racist ideology that you could ever muster in the history of America. We are solutionaries. We present solutions to this problem called socialism.
All right now.
We present solutions to this problem called gun control. We look at the media, the most effective devil in America. Think about it, write it down.
That's right. Come on now, preach it.
We look at this media and we say, and even in this Capitol building, if you are a public servant, serve it. If you are a public servant, Rhino, Democrat, actual Republican, Libertarian, whatever, it's a very simple litmus test. If you are in support of the racist policies of gun control, you are no longer fit to serve.
Next we have Mr. Major, I call him Representative Metcalfe.
Good morning, everybody, fellow citizens and freedom-loving patriots. How are you this morning? Thank you. I am truly honored to be surrounded, to be sharing this space with you. To be honest with you, I'm not really quite sure why I'm speaking today because I know you already get it. I was asked to give a little bit of a perspective on serving. But I look around, I see the Vietnam hats, I see the 8th Infantry Division, I see your flag. How many veterans do we have in here? That's what I thought. I am honored to be with you. I am honored to have been called to serve with a number of hats. But I know that first and foremost, all of us here who have served in any capacity, one way or the other, we want to make this country a better place. We want to serve. In short, we're the good guys. And we want to make sure that we stand up for the rights of the good guys, and that's all what you're here to do today. I want to thank you all so much. I know a prior speaker asked if you come here every day, but you got lives to live, right? You got to have, you got plenty of things to do, but I am so glad that you are here today to show the people who serve in this building what the citizens of Pennsylvania really think. And so my message is real short. Thank you for serving. Thank you for coming here. Thank you for being the most effective lobbyists that could ever set foot in this building, the citizens and the voters. We're here to stand up for our rights. We're here to stand up for the good guys. Thank you all so much.
Representative Matt Gobbler, and Representative Gobbler is also a major in the Army National Guard and just came off of active duty serving in the Middle East. He just came back home in December, I believe it was. So welcome home. Our next speaker came from a long ways away to join us here. Wisconsin? Mr. Tim Schmidt. Tim is the founder and president of one of America's fastest growing groups of responsibly armed citizens in the nation, the United States Concealed Carry Association. The USCCA represents more than 250,000 people who, like Tim, understand they are the first line of defense for their families and loved ones father of three, started out as a mechanical engineer. Now he's laying down the blueprint for more people to see the importance of our Second Amendment. Thank you, Tim, for joining us. We look forward to hearing from you.
Okay. Representative Metcalfe, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm honored to be a part of this, you guys. I mean, what's happening right now is very powerful. And I'm going to share a quote with you, one of my favorite quotes that really underestimates how powerful this is. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. So, it was mentioned before, there are 16 states that have constitutional carry in this country. 16 states. Now, of course, over the last couple of years that all these states have passed constitutional carry, nothing bad has happened. If anything, it's been nothing but good stuff. So I'm going to encourage you, Pennsylvania, and I just heard from Representative Metcalfe that a bill will soon be introduced for constitutional carry in Pennsylvania. Make that happen. So personally, and I'll speak for Representative Metcalfe, I think the fact that we have to even have this battle for constitutional carry is ridiculous. Because this thing was settled 227 years ago, right? Yeah. Our founding fathers, guys, our founding fathers understood that the right to self-defense is a natural born right that comes from God. And free men have the right to guns. And so guys, get this thing done, all right? So, I talked about the Constitution, I talk about the Founding Fathers. Whenever I even say those words, it gives me goosebumps. I want you to imagine something, all right? I want you to imagine that it's the early 1700s, and you're with your family, and you're fleeing England because you're sick and tired of the tyranny. Now you come over, now you live in Boston. And you're with your family, but you still can't get out from under King George's tyrannical thumb. Picture this. So, you know what happened, right? All the colonists, they got together and they decided we're going to fight for our freedom, and everyone fought, and we know the story, it was the Revolutionary War. But guess what? That's not the way it happened. So let me ask you a question. What percentage of people do you think actually fought? 3%! What do you think? Was it 50%, 60, 70% were willing to fight for their freedom? 3%! That's right. 3%! That's right, 3%. Very, very small amount of people were willing to fight. Thank goodness for that small group of people. All right. I got another question for you. Why are you here today? I want you to look into your heart and answer that question. Why are you here today? What happened in your life? Maybe it was a powerful family member. Maybe an event happened that caused you to be willing to come down here and stand up for your freedom, your ability to be protectors and defenders of your family and loved one. I really honor that. So my story started about 20 years ago. It was when my first son was born. I'll never forget the feeling in my heart looking down, holding this little guy, and I realized that, my goodness, I'm his first line of defense. I have to figure this out. Now, needless to say, just like a lot of you, there were tons of roadblocks that were thrown in my way in my desire to be that first line of defense. The first roadblock were my friends and family. They're thinking, Tim, what do you want a gun for? That's just going to get you in trouble. Another roadblock was the state I lived in. 20 years ago, in Wisconsin, you couldn't carry concealed. And another roadblock was the guy that worked at the gun shop down the street from me when I went there on a Saturday morning to ask for help, to try to learn about how to be a responsibly armed American. I walk up to the gun counter, and he says to me, what would a guy like you want with a handgun like that? So needless to say, and I know you all have challenges that we've overcome, but these are some of the reasons that I decided to start the USCCA 17 years ago. And I'm happy to say that what I wanted to start, which was a place, a home for people that were like-minded, responsibly armed citizens could come and who could learn how to effectively conceal their firearms without having to conceal their pride. from that place, more than 250,000 members all across the country. People with stories, just like the story that I shared about my process to become a responsibly armed American, and people with stories just like yours. Here's a story I want to share with you, a fellow USCCA member, David Jackson. So here's a fellow who is the ultimate quintessential responsibly armed American, carries a gun every single day. Despite the fact that his own family gives him a hard time, his own father would tell him, David, why are you carrying that gun? It's just going to get you in trouble. Well, let me tell you what. In January of 2016, when David walked into a barber shop with his 2 sons, he was really glad that he carried that gun that day. Shortly after he sat down in the barber chair, 2 thugs storm in, one with a shotgun, one with a handgun, waving their guns, pointing their guns, demanding money. As David relayed the story to me, he said, Tim, it was as if time stood still. I remember the guy walked up to me and I looked him in the eyes and said, sir, please don't shoot. My children are here. And by the grace of God, and thank goodness to David's good training and a whole bunch of courage, he was able to use his concealed carry gun, get a shot off, and he shot one of the bad guys. Now the moment that ended, yes. Now the moment that he got that shot up, well guess what? Of course the 2 thugs fled the barbershop. The attack was over. David Jackson saved the day. And I promise you, just wait, hold on. I promise you that as those 2 thugs were running down the street, there was one thing in their mind, that they had completely underestimated the power of the responsibly armed American. That's right, guys. I said the power of the responsibly armed American. You see, because David Jackson knew, all of you guys know, all of the 330,000 members of the USCCA know, that criminals understand one language. And that language is the fear of force. They understand that language. When only 10% of a given community is willing to be their family's first line of defense, well, guess what? An amazing thing happens. Powerful deterrent effect happens. Crime goes down, and the people that don't carry the guns, and 90% of the people, they get the same benefit, which is fantastic. Now, I understand. I look around this room. I understand that each and every one of you guys are part of that 10%. I know that. I get that. And I applaud you for that. Congratulations. But I have a question for you. What are you doing right now to help further this? What stories are you telling to your loved ones and to your family and your friends? Yes, it's important to stand up for our gun rights. Our gun rights don't come from the Constitution, they come from God. But standing up and screaming from my cold dead hands doesn't work as well as sharing your story from your heart. So that's my challenge to you today. So, I look around this room, I look in the eyes and the hearts of each of you guys, and I can tell that each of you have a gift, a very powerful gift. I believe it's a gift from God. You've been given the gift of the heart of a protector. But now with that gift comes tremendous responsibility. And that responsibility, again, is not to scream, but to share your story from your heart, to change people's minds. Then we'll make a difference. So now it's time to fully quote that Margaret Mead. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world, because it's the only thing that ever has. Thank you very much. God bless America.
Thank you, Mr. Tim Schmidt. Don't everybody leave just yet. We're almost done. We still have Ali Hainosky, who's going to sing America the Beautiful to close the rally today. But before she does, thank you to Mr. Tim Schmidt for making the trip, for taking the time, for bringing his crew with him that came today to document what he was doing here and what we've been doing here and what we continue to do and what we'll continue to do, and that's stand up for our freedom, right? So before Ali sings, I wanted to make you aware of this. Now, Mr. Kim Stolfer wanted me to remind everybody that you have teams that will be breaking loose from this and lobbying as citizen lobbyists through the halls today to various legislative offices to let them know you don't want to see any more gun control, but you want to do just what Maj had said. You want them to serve. You want them to represent and defend the Constitution. They took an oath just this year on the 1st of January to uphold and defend when we were sworn in. Defend the Constitution. Stop the game. But part of that defense of the Constitution is in holding elected officials accountable who violate it and violate our laws. Well, today, after this rally, my staff have been instructed to send out this memorandum to my colleagues in the House and would welcome the Senate support of that once we're able to send it over to them in the Senate, because all impeachment starts in the House of Representatives. We have sole authority for initiating impeachment. This is the letter that will go out today. Proposed resolution calling for impeachment of William Peduto, Mayor of Pittsburgh. For misbehavior in office, and the articles of impeachment be exhibited to the Senate. Date will be today's date. I plan to introduce a resolution that calls for the impeachment of Pittsburgh Mayor William Peduto after the Democratic mayor enacted new gun legislation this April that directly contravenes our Constitution. I aver that Mayor William Peduto is guilty of the impeachable offense of violating the Constitution. He willfully, brazenly, arrogantly violated the law because he doesn't agree with employing the processes that are in place to change it. When we have somebody who's in elected office who grossly abused the very law that he swore to an oath to defend, we cannot let that stand without challenge. I invite you to join me in sponsoring my resolution calling for Mayor Peduto's removal from office and his disqualification to hold any office or trust or profit under this Commonwealth, and in presenting articles of impeachment to the Pennsylvania Senate attaches a copy of the articles of impeachment. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions. That's going to my colleagues. I encourage you to encourage them to support this resolution of impeachment. The last time I introduced article of impeachment resolution was for Kathleen Kane. She's now serving time on 9 counts of crime that she committed. Let's get rid of this rogue mayor and stop anybody else from joining him. Now, let's come down out of the adrenaline rush and listen to Ms. Allie Hanoski singing America the Beautiful. Grow up before us for many years now, and she's always done a beautiful job singing, along with Mr. Dave Bray has joined our lineup the last several years. Thank you to Dave Bray, thank you to Allie, thank you to Mr. Tim Schmidt, and thank you to all of our excellent speakers. What a lineup this year. Thank you to you all for making time to be here. I know I got a message from somebody on Facebook last night saying, oh, if I'd known I would have taken the day off and I would have been there tomorrow. We try and get the word out, and people are willing to take the day off, and many of you have done that, so thank you for being here. Make sure you make the most of your time, as Mr. Tim Schmidt had encouraged you to do. Leave here, hit the offices, let them know what you're doing here today, and when you get home, make sure you let your family, friends, neighbors, fellow church members, work colleagues. Let folks know that you're a patriot. You're standing up for our country. You need them to too. We need to stop the socialist movement. Let's do it starting today. Everyone have a great day. Thanks for joining us.